Hi everyone, how are you? Good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to this week's training on 3 ways to get out of anxiety or to shift the anxiety in your body, in your mind, in your life. So I have a few, just 3 ways today in which we can shift, and then I have a couple barriers as well. So I love to, always have you guys just moving forward, moving toward where we want to be. But then also, I always love to just support you to become aware of, some of these blocks, some of these roadblocks, some of these barriers that might be in the way as well. So I hope you guys are going great as you're coming in. Just share with me where you are in the world and how is life this morning? Like, let's get real, let's get raw. How is life treating you this morning? For me, it was kind of a little bit of a whirlwind this morning. We've had a little bit of an interesting time in the household. We have a man down. We have someone who's not feeling too well. So, we really want to nourish, nurture, and look after him. And then, the kids have been around as well, but they're doing okay. So we have had an interesting morning. Please let me know, how is your morning? How are things going for you? And what did you need to do to show up here today with us? What did you need to move? What did you need to shift? What did you need to do? So happy to have you here. So let's dive in. It's going to be short and sweet today, but I really want to hit on these points. So recently, lately, I have been, really talking to you guys more and more about how you're feeling, what your blocks are, what needs to be shifted, what needs to be released, what are you stepping into? And one of the many conversations that I've had with you guys about anxiety, or this idea that we, can be in a state that is not serving us, and we can stay in this state for so long that it really affects the way that we're living our life, right? So whether we're feeling anxiety, whether we're feeling depressed, whether we're just feeling super stressed out, whether it is like an overwhelm feeling to you, and go ahead and pop that into the comments. What is that feeling for you when you get to that point where it's almost like there's no way out? And I was having a talk to my beautiful bestie this week. We were on the phone and she was like, when we're in that state, and I call it like my black box, because I feel sometimes like when the anxiety gets a real hold on me, or when things feel really overwhelming just in daily life, just as I'm moving about my day, sometimes I feel like I'm stuck in this kind of black box. I don't know why it's that color, and I don't know why I call it a box, but it sort of feels like I can't get out. And that's the feeling. It's like this feeling of being stuck. And so what I wanted to, the conversation that we had with my beautiful friend, and she was like, yeah, like when you're there, when we're like in the black box, we know, like, there are so many moments where we're like, I know what I could be doing for me to feel better. I know what I maybe should be doing to move out of this state, but sometimes it feels so challenging to get from here to there. So what we want to do today is like close that gap a little bit for you and see whether there are some alternative pathways, or an alternative route for you that might be a little bit quicker, maybe a little bit easier. And I know, right? Because when we're feeling that way, it's like, oh, I should really do my workout, really shouldn't be eating that thing. And a lot of these shoulds and shouldn't start to come into play. And then we can be really hard on ourselves too. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is really our self-talk, and like, how are we showing up for ourselves as well? So let's dive in, but go ahead and pop into the comments, like what does that feel like for you when you get to that point of, and we sort of name it, we call it, we label it, we can label it many different things, but what is it for you? What does it feel like when you get to that state, or when you get into that state, when you get to that space where it feels like you're stuck and you're unable to get out, and maybe emotions are taking over your body, and it can feel really you know, like lots of different things for different people. So share with us today, how does it feel for you? Hello, good morning. How are you? Hi, Sharon. How are you doing? So yeah, go ahead and pop into the comments. What does it feel like for you when you get to that point where you are in the anxiety, or you're in the overwhelm, or you're in, so what is the feeling that comes up? So the first thing to do is to really just identify that. What does it feel like? What is the feeling? What is the emotion? And what's it associated with? And we're going to talk about our body today too, and how it shows up, you know, in our body as well. All right, go ahead and pop into the comments. Where are you? Sharon is here on the island with us in St. Vincent, which is so awesome. And so, all right, let's dive in. So what we want to do is I'm just going to share with you 3 ways that we can shift, you know, we can just get out of anxiety. I call it like this black box, because sometimes I feel just so stuck and like I have to push my way out of it. And so can we do it? Can we shift? Can we move out, you know, with a little bit more ease? And can we move out in feeling so certain that we can get to a better emotion, right? And so the first way that we can really get out of anxiety, or really move to a place where it might be easier to shift out of anxiety, is to really allow ourselves to feel the feelings. So you hear me talk about this in these trainings, right? And it doesn't take long. And so that's why I say, like, sometimes we can do this in a minute or under 2 minutes, and it doesn't take long at all. And so what we know from science is that it takes 60 to 90 seconds to really gain momentum with a thought pattern, right? Which obviously has an effect on our body as well, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so if we can think like maybe even 40 to 60 seconds is enough for us to dissipate a feeling, to really let it go, and to shift into a completely like a new feeling, and then a new momentum that can come from that as well. And so we know that if we can sit with a feeling, if we can stay with a feeling for, you know, less than 90 seconds, then we can feel it and get out of it before it gains the momentum. So there's a lot of awareness around this as well, like awareness of your own body, which we really talk a lot about in here, and awareness of your mind and what your mind is speaking to you as well, to be able to do this. But this can be a really simple way to shift in the body and in the mind as well. So just closing, you know, down your eyes, and you might do this just right now, just closing down your eyes. And you want to just take a deep breath and tuning into any feelings of, you know, whatever it is for you. We're talking anxiety today, and yes, we can call it that, we can label it that, and then there are all these other feelings as well that can go with it. So just really breathing into where in the body are you feeling this way. So it may be that there is just a lot of tension in one particular area of your body. It may be that an emotion just springs up, you know, to you, and you know exactly how you're feeling. Or it may be that, you know, you're just actually feeling a lot of tightness in a certain area of your body, some constriction, restriction in the breath, and you just know you want to shift something. So really tuning into that. And then, so we spend so much of our time trying to get out of these states. So what we want to do is really just allow those feelings to be, like really let them be heard, let them be seen. Take a big breath in. Breathe it out. And I know our conditioned self does not want to do this, right? So you might be feeling some pushback from the conditioned self, like, I don't want to feel that. Why would I want to feel that, Marissa? Just stick with me, right? And let's just feel the feeling, really feel into the area in your body where you're feeling this way. For me right now, it's in my solar plexus. There's a lot of tension. Breathe it all in, and then let it go. Like really take a deep breath and then let it go. And allow yourself to feel, what's the feeling, what's the emotion that sits behind this? So for me, it does feel like a bit of anxiety. It feels like a little bit of overwhelm, a bit of, trying to reach all the places all at once. And so I'm just going to sit with that, and I'm really going to just allow myself to feel what that feels like. And very often it will dissipate, right? Sometimes it's not a deep-rooted, sometimes it's not deep-rooted healing that needs to be done. There aren't deep-rooted emotions that need to be healed. Something that needs, trauma release, or sometimes your feelings just want to be felt, and then they will dissipate. So this is the first way. And I'm already feeling like, as I've really sat in that feeling, sat with that area in my body, I'm already feeling some relief there. And let's just sit with it a little bit longer. Take a couple deep breaths. I'm definitely feeling my solar plexus opening up a little bit. And I'm feeling into those emotions. So what is it for you? Like, what are they? Yeah, for me, it was definitely a little bit of like, I can't do it all, And it's dissipating. So one last deep breath in, just really feel into that, whatever it is for you, whatever area in the body, you're feeling it the most. I've definitely been able to take a nice deep breath. And I feel like that energy center is now opening up at least a little bit. It might not leave completely, but we can get some relief, right? So when you're ready, you can open your eyes, you can wiggle those fingers, you can come back into the space with me and just let me know how your experience was. How was that for you? And what was the before and after? What did you observe just through doing that little technique? So I'm already feeling a little bit more grounded. You can even see my eyes are a little bit more open. I was able to take some deep breaths. Definitely my posture is better. I find I'm more present. So let me know in the comments. I've noticed when anxiety is about to set in, I stop breathing. Yes, cannot hear or feel anything. I love that awareness, right, of not being able to feel anything. We're going to talk about that in a minute when we talk about trauma in the body. That's awesome. Hello. Okay. All right. So that's the first one, right? So we want to just feel like that can be our first go-to, is that these emotions want to be felt, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, and then often they will release to some extent, right? So the second way that we can really start to move out of anxiety is by using some kind of method that is a little bit deeper than the technique that we just did. And so what we use, and what I use in many of my healing sessions, is the holistic breakthrough method. And there are lots of different versions of the holistic breakthrough method for every, single healing component. But the, overall structure of it kind of stays the same. And so what we do is we go a little bit deeper into that visualization, really feeling the emotion. And then what we're able to do is find the root cause, of that emotion, of that feeling in the moment, and really heal it, do some good healing around it, so that our triggers in daily life, which are often just triggers of past experiences, right? Like our body is physically reacting and being triggered by what's happening around us. And so what I love to do is, because when we do these healing sessions, we do some healing, but what I love to do is after, a certain period of time of doing these techniques with me, you sort of learn how to do it on your own. And so the greatest part of this for me, although I love doing the sessions, is that people take it into daily life and can really use it all the time. So for me now, if I'm triggered in daily life, I go to a holistic breakthrough method and I can sit with myself, and I have this down to about a minute now, minute and a half. If I can go longer, sometimes I do it in the shower and I can go longer, but we all have a lot going on in our day as well. So I have it down to about a minute where I can just go in, I can find the emotion, and then I can go to the time, where I first felt that. I can find the root cause and I can do some healing around it. And I can do that now in about a minute to 2 minutes, right? Which is amazing. And so we want to talk, just a little bit about trauma in the body and how trauma is stored in the body. Because when I first learned about trauma and trauma release, and I was doing my first certification as a holistic life coach and with the Global Association of Holistic Psychotherapy. And when I first heard about this, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to work in trauma. Like, that's so heavy, right? Like, it's so deep, and I don't know if I'm even capable of supporting people through that, because in my head, trauma was like an experience that happened in life that was like huge, right? So it would be big, major, life-changing events that would cause trauma in people. And then, I thought that's what I would be learning. But what I learned was that, trauma is actually just activated in the body, generally speaking, when we experience something in the present moment that is connected to our past, right? So our physiology changes, the nervous system is activated in different ways, and hormones like cortisol are released, and we start feeling a certain way, and it can become quite overwhelming at certain times, right? And so when we have, trauma in the body, and this is something that you expressed earlier. Is it Katie? I can't see your name, because if you click the link above and just give StreamYard permission, I'll be able to see your name in StreamYard. But I think it was whoever put the love heart in there. You were saying that you can't hear or feel anything, right? And so sometimes it feels like we actually leave our body in these experiences, and it's our body just having a reaction. But some people have these kind of outer body experiences where they feel numb and they feel like really not connected, not grounded, not connected to our body. And then we get like really caught up in these emotions, and it can seem like we're almost kind of overreacting to something. Like, I know for me with my son could do the exact same thing on a different day, and I could react completely different. So it just depends, like, what state am I in? How am I showing up for me? What kind of triggers are going on for me, in this moment? Yes, learning how to breathe in different types of situations. Yes, love spending time in the seawater. That's Sharon, isn't it? Breathing exercises, amazing. Yes, your body needs reminders of breathing. Yes, okay. Oh, it's Catherine. Hi, beautiful. It's so great to have you here. So this is why it can often look and feel like we're overreacting to a situation, because our nervous system is overloaded, right? And then, so what can often happen is we react a certain way. We have this kind of outer experience where we're not feeling grounded, we're not feeling together, our thoughts are really scattered. And then after that can come a whole bunch of other stuff. I know I always end up kind of sitting with Ocean and apologizing to him, if I do go to that place where I feel like I'm not speaking from my heart. And so there can be shame. There can be a whole bunch of things around this. And so we really want to heal. We really want to find the root cause, and then we really want to heal that so that it doesn't keep coming up, because it's almost like it just will keep happening, time and time and time again. So You know that you're experiencing trauma in your body when you have, the scattered thoughts, you're not clearly communicating, or communication is not coming from your heart center. It might be very much, in your head. You have this desire to escape. So for me, like I call it the black box. It's like I'm in this black box that I can't get out of. And I feel really stuck. And I feel like it's like a push that I'm trying to get out, but I can't get out. So that's why I really wanted to hi, Catherine. Yay. Now I can see your name. It's so beautiful to have you here. So that's why I really wanted to give you just a couple easy ways to shift today that are simple, that aren't like these huge, big, great things, What else? Yeah, you might feel like you want to run away. Hey, I remember when Ocean was first born, I think, and we had him in Australia, and then we came back to the island. And I remember one day just like leaving Phil with Ocean, and I put my joggers on and I actually ran away from the house. Like he knew I was coming back, but I was just like, I need this space. And I like actually literally ran away. So you might have this feeling of, wanting to run away or wanting to get out or wanting to really just escape like this whole experience, that you're having. And like Catherine said, unable to feel. So we might feel like disconnected. Other people feel numb in their body as well, and then some people feel like they actually leave their body and they have these kind of outer body experiences when they experience like rage or extreme anger and things like that. Is like this disassociation that can happen. So that's just to kind of give you guys just a general quick idea of like when we feel out of control, or explosive, or we feel like this really, really high anxiety that, we don't have any space. Sometimes people can really feel it. One beautiful girl that I was working with, she feels it a lot in her throat, where she feels like it's challenging to breathe. And I know with panic attacks, that can really, the throat is often very much activated, right? And so sometimes we can just get into this space. And so I wanted to just give you guys a little bit of an idea of like how trauma can be in the body. And so we can release it by, number one, feeling it, like really allowing ourselves to feel that emotion, because we're so often in that mode of escape, like needing to get out of it. And then the second way is, the holistic breakthrough method or something similar, where you can go into a place where you can actually find the root cause and heal that. So this continuous trigger doesn't just like keep showing up in your life, constantly and all the time. And certainly there will be other triggers, and other triggers depending on our life experience. But the beauty of this is that we get vulnerable enough to just do a little bit of the work. And so it gets a lot easier. And so when these episodes come now for me, it's so much easier for me to step, into a better state, step into a better feeling, one that serves me so well. Yes. Okay, so the third way that we can get out of the black box, as we were talking, my beautiful bestie and I, or just this feeling of, anxiety, overwhelm, stress, whatever it is for you. And everybody experiences it in a different way. And so I don't like to label it with one word, but then we also really want to acknowledge, right, that many people are showing up and feeling this anxiety and really attached to this label too within themselves. And so we really want to support them, hear them, like, I feel you, I see you, I hear you. If you in moments in your day where you feel like this, I am with you. I have been there and I am still there, right? Like there are many times where I get to a point where, but then I turn my switch on, I know what I need to do. And so the third way is to really know, and I talk about this a lot in our trainings, don't I? our self-worth and our deservability, because everything comes back to this. And I did a post on this, I think, in the group this week, and just about, you know, when we have that laid out, like we are looking after us, we have our own back, number one, before number two even comes into play. And so the question is, and I had a client the other day who was like, I still don't feel smart enough to be doing what I'm doing. I still don't feel educated enough. I still don't feel, you know, that I'm good enough to do A, B, or C. And these type of thoughts can lead us, you know, kind of into that path. And this is just the conditioned self way of thinking. And so, you know, I give you guys tools like the tracker is such an amazing tool. We do that in the workshop where you guys literally track, you know, your conditioned self versus your authentic self every 15 minutes. Because the more that we are aware, the more we are already moving into our authentic self. And so we want to just think about, you know, these, the self-talk that we're sharing with ourselves. Am I strong enough to get through this? Am I, you know, smart enough, pretty enough, whatever it might be, to fulfill your dreams, to do A, B, and C? And so these often come back to the trauma, right? And the need for the trauma release. And so however you can look for these in daily life in terms of, you know, what is holding you back the most? What is the self-talk that is holding you back the most? Because very likely there's something underlying under there that's related to self-worth, that's related to deservability. And it may be like right back from when we were kids, right? Like mom and dad were doing the best that they could possibly do for us. And maybe at times they were having it hard, right? So they were showing up in a way that triggered us at the time to create certain protective measures, right? And so sometimes we take those protective measures with us, like through our life into adulthood, where we don't really need them anymore. So we can go in and we can heal those. But one thing that we can do is like our surface level self-talk. We can really look at that and be like, how is this affecting our own really deep self-worth and our knowing our deservability in this world? And in the workshop, the 5-day workshops, I often talk about Marissa Peer, who's a really sort of fun psychotherapist who's taking the world by storm. But she wrote a book called I Am Enough, Mark Your Mirror, Change Your Life. And so what can you write on your mirror today? What can you remind yourself, put a reminder in your phone of today that can really be the opposite of whatever that self-talk is? And so this negative self-talk can come up in so many ways. You know, I'm not a good enough mom if I didn't do A, B, or C. I'm not smart enough to do A, B, or C. Maybe I'm not whatever it is for you, right? And so start today, whatever this is going to be. What is your new mantra going to be? And by mantra, I mean not an affirmation that we just kind of stick up on the wall or put on the fridge, but something that we continuously say to ourselves during the day, and that we swap for anything else that is going to remotely take us down that conditioned self path, that conditioned self way of thinking that is going to bring up again, like all of this old trauma in the body. So what you can do is to go a little bit deeper with this is, once you've found this negative self-talk, is to write a response to I am enough in your journal. So you can open up your journal and you write I am enough, and then write your response to that. And you'll be so surprised sometimes like what comes out, and just be really raw with it and really allow yourself, again, like number one, to feel it. And then we want to forgive that. So you can either forgive the thought and, you know, choosing a different thought, or we have like a whole forgiveness prayer that we do afterwards to release it as well. So those are 3 kind of simple, easy ways that we can begin to shift. Not good enough. Yes, using the tracker has really helped me when I'm going through times of blockages. Okay, I know I'm good enough. I know that I should not take other people's emotions seriously, but I do. Yeah, I so hear you. I so hear you. I feel that. Sometimes I have to take a step back and recognize the anxiety is not mine. Yes, Catherine. I have to breathe mentally and take a step back. I worry about everyone, especially my family. Yes, I feel you. And especially at this time, right? Especially right now, where we are distant from many of our family members too, and there are concerns and so many worries. And so, you know, those can be our little healing, those little mantras, like those little, I'm so worried about this, I'm so concerned about that, can be swapped for our little healing, positive self-talk mantras, just to give us that strength, give us that extra strength. Yes, I am enough. And so Marissa Peer, just very quickly, I go into more detail in the workshop, but Marissa Peer, she really took the world by storm when she started turning up for celebrities to help to heal their depression and their anxiety. And this was before she was kind of in the media and in the, you know, really in the face of television and everything. She used to go and do this beautiful work with these celebrities, like Hollywood A-listers, and they would be depressed in their mansions, and she would go in and she would literally mark their mirror, like, I am enough, on their mirror. She would punch it into their phone for them so they would get reminders. They would have to write it a certain number of times a day. They had to repeat it to themselves. And so interesting in the research that she did around this and around this block of time where she was doing this and showing up for these people, how she managed to heal their anxiety and depression just from this one mantra. And so remembering and noticing that at the bottom of everything may well, just like Marissa Peer says, have this self-worth and this deservability issue that can be shifted, that can be healed, right? I am enough. So powerful. And that's a beautiful book if you as well. As always, I love to give you like these tools to move forward, but I also want to share with you just 2 barriers that sometimes can get us stuck, like get us stuck in that, the black box, right? Marissa's black box. I don't know. Does anyone else feel like they get in a box sometimes, or is it just me? I don't know. So the first barrier is that sometimes people lack internal trust, right? Or there is a lack of internal trust. And so coming back to my post this week in the group on self-care, and just like, if we can learn, so we have to learn how to trust in relationships, right? We have to be in a relationship where we can trust, right? If we're in a relationship with somebody else, trust is such an important factor. And so we want to think about, well, if trust is such an important factor, like in my marriage and in my friendships and in my relationship with my children, in my relationship, you know, with anybody, then shouldn't it also be so important for me to have that level of trust in me as well? And so a great question, you know, to ask is like, how trustworthy am I? Right? Like, how trustworthy am I for me, for myself? And I love asking myself this question because very often I'm like, oh, not really. Like, can I trust that I'm going to show up for me for A, B, or C? Because really, I'm the only person in the world that can do that for me. I could ask until I'm blue in the face for everybody else to like show me support and love and encouragement, all these things. But really, I'm the only person that can 100% do that for me. And so all of these, you know, fears that can come up in our life, like this fear of getting vulnerable, fear of showing up, fear of even feeling our feelings, fear of stepping into our dreams, fear of unveiling the past, even sometimes, all has to do with trust in us. So do you trust that you have your own back? Do you trust 100% that you're going to be saying loving words to yourself, that you're going to be doing kind deeds for yourself, that you're going to be supporting your body with the nourishment and the nurturing that it really needs? And sometimes that means, you know, calling in that wise, loving adult that we talk about in the Rejuvenate program. We have this part of us that's called the wise, loving adult that we actually pull in, and she's kind of like the mothery type, right? And she brings the compassion and the care and the understanding. And so just how important it is that we gain this trust within ourselves, right? So we ask for it in relationships outside of us. Sometimes it can feel really challenging to find it within ourselves. And so are we showing up, can I trust that I'm going to nourish myself with the right foods every single day? Can I trust that I'm going to move my body and support my lymphatic system, and that I'm going to do these body balancing techniques to shift my nervous system so that I don't get to that point of anxiety? So where's the level of trust? How's it going for you? Mine, it changes. Like I can tune in and be like, can I trust you right now? And sometimes it's like, not really. not really doing all the things, but it's a nice reminder. Let's get that, trustworthiness just up here. And so another barrier could be that sometimes people use all the mental strategies, and they might even go for support with therapy, psychologists and psychiatrists and coaches and healers, but maybe they're not doing the physical side of it. So the whole other part of this, mindset and really understanding our conditioned self versus our authentic self and how we're showing up in our self-talk and all of this, the whole other part of this, another side of this that often gets left behind is the physical. So are we doing what needs to be done for our body, for our nervous system to be in balance? So I'm going to give you just a couple little things that you can move to today that are just easy and simple and really, really quick. So when we think about that, when you think about balancing your nervous system, supporting your body, what do you think about? So when I was on the call with my bestie this week, she was like, I know I'm meant to be like working out 4 times a week. Like, I know all of this. So like, let's find another way because I'm not doing it, right? And so let's look at just little things that we can do for our nervous system. So one thing that can help us to feel better when life really starts to get super heavy is just to shift that, nervous system, support the vagus nerve to do its job, support our parasympathetic nervous system to really show up for us, which will in turn help our thoughts, our gut health, all of the things that are going to make us feel better. So you can start really small. I was talking with another good friend and client the other day, and one thing that came up was like using the non-dominant hand. So this is something that we used to use in our Miracles program, which is designed for anxiety and depression. And we don't have that program anymore, but it was so powerful. And we would have people using their non-dominant hand to just turn off and on light switches, to brush their hair, to brush their teeth, to carry their handbag, to, lock and unlock their car. All these different ways that we can use our non-dominant hand to help us to move more into our right brain. So, in the workshops, I often talk about, yes, there is probably a lot more now. We know a lot more about left and right brain balance and that they're not completely separated, but we also know that the majority of society are living most of their life in their left brain. And this is really causing them to be in their conditioned self so much more than they need to be, right? So helping us to balance our brain and to move more into our right brain, we can do that by starting to use our non-dominant hand in daily life. So start small, right? Like we can do some of this limb-specific nervous system reset stuff. You can go to bed 10 minutes earlier. If we're sleeping before 10 p.m., we are, supporting organ regeneration while we sleep. This includes our brain. And then there are like the little vagus nerve techniques, like what we did in the Next Level You workshop. And I'll show you one right now before we go. So you can... the ones that we did in the workshop were a little bit more intricate, but this is just a nice place to start. So just checking your ears. Sometimes we feel like when we're in anxiety, we feel like, what do our ears have to do with anxiety? But they really can get kind of stuck sometimes, and we can get in this mode where our skull, and there's just so much tension around our head and our neck as well, and this goes down into our chest as well. Like depending on what our ears are doing, we can really feel so much tension in the neck, throat, and the chest as well. So let's just check on our ears. So we do one side and then we check on the other side and just see, is one more tense than the other? You might just take a deep breath here. And so for me, I would say my right is actually a little bit more tense today, which is unusual for me. Usually it's the other side, but that would go with, you know, feeling a little bit of that tension this morning. And so for both sides now, what we want to do is just, let's see if I can show you guys my ear. So we want to just give it a little stretch, like down. And you want to give it a little stretch up. Take some deep breaths. And then you might give it a little stretch out. And then you can move over to the other side. So we'll just do stretch down. Take a deep breath. Stretch up. And stretch out. And you might find that you see on my right side there, I got a little physiological response. So you may get a little yawn, your eyes might water, you may get a little deep swallow or like more saliva in the mouth. You may have a deep breath. Might find that you just get a nice, really deep breath. And you can come back to center now. So there are like lots of little intricate ways that we can use our ears to shift and to really activate the vagus nerve. And so there are branches of the vagus nerve that come out through and out and around the ears called the auricular branches. And so there are lots of little ways that we can do that. In the Next Level You workshop, we went into some more intricate ones, but that's a really simple one that you can use. So just take a deep breath with me now and breathe it out. And just let me know, did you guys have a physiological shift? Like I'm sitting up a little bit straighter just from doing that. And then we can go back and test those ears again. And for sure, my right ear, actually now I'm feeling a bit of tension in my left, but none in my right at all. I could like fold it over and everything. So let me know, how was that for you? This is just a quick little one, but, you know, really taking this body balancing seriously and being like, okay, so there are little ways that I can shift my nervous system and actually feel better. One of them is just that posture. I'm sitting more upright now because we just did that reset, but, you know, having a look at, am I hunched over? Because I'm definitely not going to be taking breaths and moving into my authentic self if I'm hunched over. All right, guys, I'll wait to hear from you in the comments, and we will just pop a quick little meditation on and just do a nice release of those emotions that we felt in the beginning. So we're going to go back there and just do a quick little release. Yes. So let me know how you guys are feeling. And we'll just do just a quick little 1 to 2 minutes of this relaxation technique here. Little meditation for us. Yes, you love doing that with your ears while you're in the shower. Nice. It's a beautiful time to reset. Okay, so just closing down your eyes. Palms can be facing up on your knees. Take a nice deep breath with me. Maybe after that little reset, you might feel that deep breath is coming in now. So really let it into your belly. Breathe it all out. And one more time, a big deep breath. Breathe it out. And now just bringing your awareness to your physical body. And just finding either that space that we tuned into when you first arrive. I'm so happy, Catherine, to hear that shift. You felt that shift. Amazing. Tuning into that part of your body. Maybe it is the same area that you were feeling in the beginning when we really started to feel the feeling, around that area of tension. Maybe it's new. Maybe it's a new area, something different to what you tuned into earlier. So just finding a spot in your body. Maybe it's just a spot of tension. Maybe it's just some dense energy. Maybe it's a feeling. Maybe it's already an emotion. And you know exactly where it is. And maybe you've been wanting to shift it for a while. So just tuning in now to this part of your body. And we're just going to really let ourselves feel it. Bringing your awareness, bringing all your attention to this area. An emotion might pop up for you. It may be a word that just kind of pops out of that area, or it might be just something that you tune into, a feeling that you tune into, and just name it. Let's just put a name to it. You might yawn through this, through these techniques as you're releasing. Feeling that tension and really just feeling it dissipate. The more you feel the emotion, the more you feel the feeling, the tension dissipate. Being in that awareness can help us to shift. And just for 2 more breaths, just really allowing yourself to deeply feel that emotion, deeply feel the tension, allowing it to be. And then just feeling it dissipate, like a bubble kind of pops or it leaves your body. Some people see steam or, smoke coming off of their body in the mind's eye. Allowing yourself to take one last deep breath. And then breathe it all out. And you may feel the entire area just kind of relaxes and those feelings and emotions dissipate. And you may feel like some is still left. And so tune back in, check back in later in the day and do this again. Do this exercise again. And of course, sometimes there's deeper healing to be done. And so if there is, reach out. Reach out. I would love to support you with that. Sometimes these patterns are not just ours, they're generational. But so much can be released just by feeling. So let's take one last deep breath together. Really let those shoulders come all the way up, focusing on that area of your body that you want to release for the last time. Let's hold it at the top just for 3 counts. And then let it out with a sigh. Drop the shoulders and really let that tension dissipate. And now we will just come back to our little mantra that we spoke of today. I am enough. Hands on our heart. Let the breath come back to normal, natural rhythm. And just say it with me. I am enough. I am enough. And focusing on that space right behind your heart. And just say it with me. I am enough. I am enough just the way I am. I am enough to show up how I want to show up, how I, feel best in showing up. I'm enough to do all the things that I want to do. I'm enough to be who I want to be. And I'm just enough the way that I am right now, right here, raw, in this moment. I am enough. Take a deep breath in. Shake out your hands. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come back into the space with me. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're getting out of anxiety. We are shifting these blocks. We're shifting and healing what needs to go, what needs to be released. And I thank you so much for being on this journey with me. Catherine, I'm so happy that you're feeling more relaxed. It's amazing. Yes. All right, you guys, have an amazing day. I will see you in the group, and I will see you next week for next week's training. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.